up everyone? Welcome back to this week's video where we're going to be discussing one of the craziest attempted murder stories that I have ever heard. Make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a weekly upload. As always, let's get into it. Vicky was a woman who was an accelerated freefall instructor with over 2,600 jumps to her name. Vicky was trained to deal with the uncontrolled and very inexperienced divers. She was able to chase them around, catch them in the middle of the air, and then re-stabilize them. She worked as a physiotherapist for the Ministry of Defense when she met a man who she helped rehabilitate that was injured from a skiing accident. The two eventually fell in love, and by April of 2015, the two celebrated being married for 4 years. When the couple eventually bought their house, they kept in mind that Vicky really loved to go skydiving and made sure to buy a house that was less than 10 minutes away from their nearest airfield. Only 5 weeks after Vicky had given birth to their second child, she felt the need to get back into the air. She began talking to her husband Emil about the need to jump out of an airplane again, and he decided to help her set up her next jump. Emil decided to bring their 3-year-old daughter and newborn son along to watch their mom jump out of an airplane. Emil offered to get Vicky's parachute prepped for her new jump and soon after disappeared with it into the bathroom. Emil told Vicky that he took her parachute into the bathroom because their child had to use the restroom and he didn't want to leave it unattended. Although the weather was poor, Vicky had this urge to go jump with the rest of the group and decided despite the weather conditions she was still gonna make her jump. The group of jumpers decided to do a hop and pop, which was a low altitude jump. These type of jumps typically require them to open their parachute within seconds of jumping out of the airplane. Vicky was excited to be back in the plane, fist bumped all of her friends, and was the last one to jump out of the plane, making her number 12. As Vicky free fell towards the ground, her heart began to panic when she noticed that she couldn't open up her parachute. Vicky struggled to get her parachute open and within a split second hit the ground at a max speed. When the paramedics moved her onto a gurney, they had to make sure that all of her parachute gear was fully unattached from her. When the paramedics began looking at her gear, one of them pointed out that a couple of her parachute clips were actually unattached. They noticed that her main parachute canopy had been knotted and her reserve was tampered with as well. All of the soft links that connected the parachute to her harness were actually absent. As Vicky was hauled off to the hospital, all of the other parachuters decided to look at her canopy to figure out what went wrong. What didn't make sense is that her reserve parachute had never been deployed and was looked at by more than 10 professional parachute packers in its lifetime. The police got involved and decided to open up a case to see if there was any type of malpractice in Vicky's incident. Police went to the hospital where they questioned Vicky, who surprisingly survived this horrendous fall. The officers began questioning Vicky at the hospital while the BPA took a second look at her parachute. They didn't expect to get too much from this until they received a call from one of Vicky's friends. The friend told police that Vicky and her husband Emil's relationship was extremely toxic and she believed that may have had something to do with her nasty fall. The friend told police that Vicky's husband Emil used to beat her in very gruesome and unexpected ways. He would treat her like a princess when they went out, but then beat her behind the walls inside their house. Police decided to run DNA and fingerprints on the parachute, but didn't find anything that would link Emil to any type of malpractice. Police decided to inspect Emil, and after interrogating him and questioning him for over 6 hours, finally began to get some answers. He told police that he was having an affair with another skydiver from Australia and actually was in major debt. He offered up a motive and a means of murder to police as though he was untouchable. He told police all of the points that he knew they would discover if they ever searched his phone. He told police that the worst part of his day was them arresting him in front of his peers at work, which was very interesting when he should be worried about his wife, who was severely injured. Police told Vicky that her husband Emil was the main suspect in her case, and she didn't understand why he couldn't come home to her and her 2 children. Vicky was in a full body brace and all she kept asking police was to let her husband come home to her. Police began to go through Emil's phone and began to read the messages between him and the other skydiver who he was having an affair with. They read messages where Emil told her that he would do anything to be with her and sacrifice and give up everything that he already had. After doing some more digging, police discovered that Emil had actually added Vicky to his life insurance policy through work. Not only that, but they actually discovered she had the maximum cover possible. Police told Vicky that her husband was having an affair, but she still couldn't accept the fact that she couldn't see him and he couldn't come home to her and the children. Vicky eventually told police that there was something she hadn't told them that she needed to get off of her chest. She told police that 6 days before the parachute jump, she smelled gas coming from her kitchen. She said that at the time, Emil wasn't home because he was visiting prostitutes, and she texted him asking, "Did you turn on the gas in the house to kill me?" Although Vicky told police that she was joking at the time, she said that Emil got extremely angry that she even suggested that. Almost 2 years later, this case eventually got to court. By the time it got to court, Vicky told police that her statement was overly exaggerated and that she didn't really want to cooperate anymore. As the case began to unfold more and more things came out about Emil, and eventually Vicky watched as he was sentenced to life in prison. Emil was held accountable on 2 accounts, one for endangering his children and one for attempting to murder Vicky. Even through all of this, Vicky still fought for Emil and tried to get more leniency on his sentencing. For police, it's a very bittersweet victory where they achieve justice for a victim who doesn't seem to want it. I can't wrap my head around the fact that Vicky wanted to defend such an awful man and definitely believe he deserves a lot more than life in prison. What do you think?